Welcome to the Urantia book. Have you ever wondered, what is your spirit? Where does it come from? Did it choose you in specific? What is its purpose? We are aware that we have a body and that we have a mind because we can see them functioning and feel them. The spirit is much more mysterious to us. However, many of us have often thought, I have to be more than a body or more than a mind. But the Urantia book brilliantly reveals what the nature, the mission and ministry of this thing that they call the thought adjuster, which is just their word for what would be your spirit fragment entity that dwells within you. So it goes on with many, many pages. And so we're just going to touch on it here with this introduction, and then we're going to get into the selection and assignment. And I know that's a big topic for people wondering what was this consultation with the divine that your spirit had before it indwelt you in specific. But let's do the introduction first so we can understand what this thought adjuster thing is. The mission of the thought adjusters to the human races is to represent, to be the universal father to the mortal creatures of time and space. Father, mother, doesn't matter. So God is simultaneously the furthest thing from us, being at the central isle of paradise, but also the closest thing to us, maybe even closer than your best friend or your spouse, definitely, because it's dwelling within you. That is what this mission of this spirit entity is, God within us. That is the fundamental work of the divine gift, and think of it as a gift. Their mission is also that of elevating the mortal minds and of translating the immortal souls of men and women up to the divine heights and spiritual levels of paradise function. So your mind will experience this as well. You'll have more calm. You'll have more ways of assessing relationships and your life's goal, your life's path. Because remember, those are functions of mind that you can tangibly associate these things to. And then the soul is different than the spirit. They teach that the soul is starting out its journey right here and now on this planet. This was your first. They don't teach about reincarnation of the soul. They teach about ascension of the soul. So nobody was Cleopatra and nobody was George Washington. This is all our first go around here. The thing when people say I'm an old soul, what they're actually referring to is that you are an old spirit. That is the entity of eternal perfection that dwells within you, whereas the soul is more this evolutionary combined entity of that in you. Up to the divine heights of spiritual levels of paradise perfection. And in the experience of thus transforming the human nature of the temporal creature into the divine nature of the eternal finaliter, the adjusters bring into existence a unique type of being, a being consisting in the eternal union of the perfect adjuster, the spirit fragment, and the perfected creature, us, which it would be impossible to duplicate by any other universe technique. The gods already do create the perfect beings, all the perfect beings they want, and there's universes populated with them, and they never go astray, they never make a mistake. This is about creating this unique type of being that evolves up from this lowly animal origin through this relationship. However, you must choose that. It's always a free will choice every single step of the way. You're not coerced by this thought adjuster. It's all voluntary. Nothing in the entire universe can substitute for the fact of experience on non-existential levels. The infinite God is, as always, replete and complete, infinitely inclusive of all things except evil and creature experience. So God can't know that. God cannot do wrong. He is infallible. God cannot experientially know what he has never personally experienced. So that's what this is about. This whole universe age is about completing this other aspect of God. God's pre-knowledge is existential. Therefore, does the Spirit of the Father descend from paradise to participate with finite mortals in every bona fide experience of the ascending career. It is only by such a method that the existential God could become in truth and in fact man's experiential father. Or else we would just be equals, but we're the students here. You can think of it as student-teacher if you want to. But the father relationship is much more loving and close. The infinity of the eternal God encompasses the potential for finite experience, which indeed becomes actual in the ministry of the adjuster fragments that actually share the life vicissitude experiences of human beings. So this is God's, this is just the method. God couldn't choose to do a fight with somebody, so we have no idea what that's like. But since we are choosing those types of things, inevitably, as being free will and perfect creatures, then that is how this other aspect gets, But that doesn't mean that you have to choose that, or else, God's not going to be complete. Just think that it's inevitable. Don't think that this is like a sin mission that we're on here. In fact, it's not. Selection and assignment. This is the thing that people ask about a lot. When adjusters are dispatched for mortal service from Divinington, which is just a sphere in paradise, they are identical in the endowment of existential divinity, but they vary in experiential qualities proportional to previous contact in and with evolutionary creatures. So that is the difference. There's no difference other than experience. They have had, some of them, experience indwelling other mortals. Perhaps that mortal rejected the eternal career, and now this adjuster no longer needs to serve that mortal because that mortal doesn't exist anymore, and now they're going to indwell another being. That is the only way that you would have what they call an experienced adjuster versus a virgin adjuster. But don't think that it was you that rejected that. It was an entirely different being. So, and also, I don't know. I forgot I was going to say that. Previous contact. We cannot explain the basis for adjuster assignment, but we can conjecture that these divine gifts are bestowed in accordance with some wise and efficient policy of eternal fitness of adaptation to the indwelt personality. We do observe that the more experienced adjuster is often the indweller of the higher type of human mind. Human inheritance must therefore be a considerable factor in determining selection and assignment. So that is just a inevitable sort of thing. For instance, you wouldn't want to give a computer to a rock, and that's a crude example, but if somebody is just not functioning with all of their cylinders for whatever reason of their brain deficiency or that sort of thing, genetics and that sort of thing, then they're going to have to adjust which adjuster that this person is going to be. And that's not a stigma to say that anybody who doesn't have this great intellectual genius is worse or better than anybody else. It's just a simple fact. And to say that even though that maybe you might not be a genius, like I'm not, but we still have this adjuster, and then we can grow in that. We'll attain new levels of mind as we proceed on in the universe if we choose that path. So it's not a stigma there or a pointing down at anybody, but it is something to consider, this human inheritance and how this mind is functioning. Although we do not definitely know, we firmly believe that all thought adjusters are volunteers. But before they ever volunteer, they are in possession of full data respecting the candidate for indwelling. But this candidate hasn't had a life. I mean, we're talking about infant types of beings. So let's see. The seraphic drafts of ancestry. This is the data that they're talking about. Not, did you suck your thumb when you were 2 months old? But it's more like, what was the interest, and now what is the projected patterns of life conduct based on maybe things like your environment, based on things of maybe analyzing which type of personality or mind you have. So there is this real concrete type of understanding that happens with these advanced beings before they have a choice. And we're talking about perfection here, folks. So these are transmitted via paradise. This data is gathered via paradise to the reserve core of adjusters on Divinington by the reflectivity technique. So they're not sending like messages and carrier pigeons. This is spiritual communion on these advanced circuits, extending inward from the capitals of the local universe to the headquarters of the super universe. This forecast covers not only the hereditary antecedents, which we discussed, of the mortal candidate, but also the estimate of probable intellectual endowment and spiritual capacity. That could be something that is a different component of what makes us up. This is something that they call the violet DNA, which our material sons and daughters were supposed to leave behind on this, or they call them material sons and daughters, or AKA Adam and Eve, not the first human, but human or semi-material beings that come to the planet to leave behind advanced DNA that is supposed to work its way through the races and help us be more receptive to spirituality. And they did, for a large part, leave a lot of it behind, but a lot of that mission failed. So we don't have as much of that. And that is one of the reasons why they explain why we are in a backward state right now, is because there is not more of this receptive spiritual DNA, receptive capacity that has come through. I don't know exactly how that works. I don't know if that's something with like the pineal gland or whatever they call it, how it's more spiritually receptive. The adjusters thus volunteer to indwell minds of whose intimate natures they have been fully apprised. I don't know if what that word means. I would think appraised, but I don't know what apprised is. But apparently they just really are, studying all of this type of stuff and be like, hey, Bob, you're good with people that don't have a lot of DNA. You go down, and hopefully the person chooses Bob for the rest of eternity. And he never has to be dispatched again. I mean, that's the goal, is that you only want one, and you're only going to get one. If you reject it, then you're done as a personality in the universe. But that thing will learn from you, the adjuster will learn from you, and then it'll indwell another being. But I don't think that really, I don't know, I don't think it's like thousands of lives that these adjusters have indwelt before. I don't really think that many people really would reject this perfect and eternal plan. The volunteering adjuster is particularly interested in 3 qualifications of the human candidate. 1, intellectual capacity. Is the mind normal? They don't say in the Urantia book what is a normal mind and what isn't, and I think because they don't want us going around judging people and saying, oh, you're normal, you have adjuster, you don't have adjuster, blah, blah, blah. But we just at least have to know that there's such a thing as a non-normal mind. I don't know if that's a psychopath who's just incapable of making spiritual choices. Who knows? Is that Adolf Hitler? Or does Hitler have an adjuster and now he's repent? We don't know. It doesn't say for a reason. It's not up to us to judge, so we just must assume that everybody is indwelt. It's better to know that. But also, it's good to know that some of these non-normal minds are functioning. So don't try to beat yourself up trying to elevate somebody if they're completely closed off and shut off to you. Just say, all right, I don't know what your makeup is or whatever, but I'm not going to kill myself trying to help you, because it's possible that you might not even be a normal mind. What is the intellectual potential, the intelligence capacity? Can the individual develop into a bona fide will creature? Will wisdom have an opportunity to function? So it's these questions. Like I said, you don't want to give a computer to a rock because it's not going to do anything with it. Spiritual perception, the prospects of reverential development, the birth and growth of the religious nature. What is the potential of the soul? The probable spiritual capacity for receptivity, based on that stuff like your maybe if you have some of this violet DNA, maybe if your personality type is more spiritually receptive, various things. Combined intellectual and spiritual powers. The degree to which these 2 endowments may possibly be associated, combined, so as to produce strength of human character and contribute to the certain evolution of an immortal soul of survival value. So maybe that's more of the personal side of things. Is your personality able to combine these various gifts that you could have with intellectual and spiritual? Or you might be somebody who's rejecting your gifts, and we've seen people that do that. They're so talented, yet they're rejecting them, but this might be just a different level of that. With these facts before them, it is our belief that the monitors freely volunteer for assignment. Probably more than one adjuster volunteers. Perhaps the supervising personalized orders select from this group of volunteering adjusters the one best suited to the task of spiritualizing and internalizing the personality of the mortal candidate. In the assignment and service of the adjusters, the sex of the creature is of no consideration. Yeah, so even though they say father and son and daughter in this book, it's not a sexist type of thing. They're just doing that to save time. And so that is not, but they pick the best one because that's the goal. They're trying to eternalize this personality. They don't want to have a being reject it. That's not the goal. The short time intervening between the volunteering and the actual dispatch of the adjuster is presumably spent in the Divinington schools of the personalized monitors, where a working pattern of the waiting mortal mind is utilized in instructing the assigned adjuster the most effective plans for personality approach in mind spiritualization. So they're looking at your mind patterns, and then they're coming up with their plan. Okay, well, maybe this person's going to be receptive to dreams, so let's put some things in their dreams, however it works. This mind model is formulated through a combination of data supplied by the Super Universe Reflectivity Service. So you see how much data. I mean, it's a very concrete thing that's going on here in the universe. There's not magical type stuff. At least this is our understanding, a belief which we hold the result of putting together information secured by the contact with many personalized adjusters. So there still is a mystery level surrounding it, but once you're at the levels of the beings that write this book, you realize that God designed these perfect systems, and you just trust it. You just realize that it's got to be fitting on all levels, wisdom, spiritual. Throughout the long universe career of the solitary messengers, it's like a classification of angelic being or celestial being. Once the adjusters are actually dispatched from Divinington, practically no time intervenes between that moment and the hour of their appearance in the minds of their chosen subject. The average transit time of an adjuster from Divinington to Urantia is 117 hours, 42 minutes, and 7 seconds. You can see the exactness of all this. Virtually all this time is occupied with registration on Uversa. So these entities, pre-personal entities they call them, you're the personality. They're the pre-personal thing, and you're supposed to combine. You bring the personality to the table, they bring the plans of eternal perfection to the table. So you have to work together with each other to combine, eventually fuse with one another. So it's inseparable from you. Your adjuster is literally you at that point. But these entities register on the capital of the universe is what they're saying, because they have a strict record of everything that's going on, as far as, which these ones are indwelling and that sort of thing. So it combines, I believe, a lot of this understanding about our soul, quote, reincarnation with this spirit indwelling is what I would call it in comparison. This is a spirit indwelling us. And it does confirm this understanding that there's a lot of consultation as to why they would choose you to indwell you, but it is not you up there having that meeting with God. It's not your personality and said, hey, well, I did pretty good at George Washington. I was political last time. Let's see if I can enter the next baby now, and let's see if I can do something a little bit more spiritual, or maybe I'll enter a blade of grass, or, however those reincarnation concepts work. It's not saying that. It's saying you are starting out here, and you're going to remember, you're going to be you in the next life. There's not this wiping of memory concept that would come with a reincarnation of doing 1,000 lives, like wiping out the memory of a third grader before he entered in fourth grade would be completely meaningless. That's that thing that's supposed to ring off in your brain to say, well, that doesn't fit philosophically. Why would they eliminate the memory of a third grader if they were going into fourth grade? Would you want your kid to do that? No, it'd be stupid. So we don't eliminate our memories when we go into our next life and world. This soul continues on. Our personality continues on. We remember our Earth associates. We look up our Earth associates to commune with them again. And we're not, that's why it's your personality. This is the start of our eternal journey. But the hope for survival, folks, and this divine plan is literally within us. And it's super easy, whether you understand every single detail, it doesn't matter. You can just breathe a sigh of relief and rest your laurels on that hope and faith that this is dwelling within you in what is called your thought adjuster or your spirit fragment or mystery monitor. All right, thanks for checking out the video. Please like and subscribe if you have not already. We're getting close to 1,000 subscribers, and we'll see you in the next video.